Hello and welcome to episode 62 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo, now on YouTube.
Woohoo!
And with me in outer space to talk about Jet Force Gemini games, Nintendo Switch 2 names, and player polls of shame is Sean. How you doing this week, Sean?
Ooh, that was a smooth intro. I like that. That was good.
Been trying them. No, I can't think of
I'm
a week.
ready for us to maybe start some angry Discord off this list. I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting
It hurts the more I
conversation.
read it. Like it just
Yeah. Before we get too deep into that though, something I wanted to bring up, I should bring up, I said this in the intro, we're on YouTube now. So if you prefer listening to your podcast that way, we're there. And if you had to hear this for some reason and something you don't like, but you're like, oh, I wish they were on YouTube, we're there now. I know some people can like play YouTube in the background at work, so that helps for them. For some reason, they can't use other applications. I don't know, but it's not like a video version just yet. Maybe someday down the road. It just shows our show logo, but you can hear the actual show. So we're there. You can comment down below. If you're watching us on YouTube, so I can see that people are actually doing it, because YouTube views means nothing. If they literally stumble on the page for half a second, it gives it a view. So I don't know if they watched it or not. I'm not gonna look at analytics. Anyway, yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about this week, though, before we get too deep into things, besides that. So I was in a Mario Sunshine mood this week. So I was watching lots of Mario Sunshine videos on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, should have segued it that way.
it all connects.
Yeah. I mean, I just finished Turok 2, which there's an update on that. I finished it, if anyone was wondering. It didn't make me sick after I got through that level. So was able to finally finish that. I've had that life goal since that Christmas that I first got it on my Nintendo 64.
That's a long time, but you finally could scratch it off there.
I blame Nintendo Power, because they printed the cheat codes, and I would literally, every time I would play that game, I would get like 5 minutes in, and then I would just turn on all guns, infinite ammo, infinite health, invincibility type stuff, and then I never wound up finishing the game because I would just get bored with it. But finally finished the campaign mode in Turok 2 after all these years. And I have to say, this is a discussion for another time maybe, but I honestly feel like it doesn't hold up. It was just a personal grudge that I had to finish that game. There's so many areas where, like, I was texting you about it this week. You can't tell what's a door, like where you're supposed to go. I had to keep the map open, but it's not a good map. It's a map that's kind of like the map in Doom, where it's just a bunch of lines.
Yeah, the old school map.
Yeah, so like you end up looking at that more than what's on the screen, and that might have been contributing to what was making me sick, now that I think of it. But yeah, not a good time. But I finished that, and I wanted something that was kind of like the polar opposite tone-wise, and I started looking at Mario Sunshine videos on YouTube. And the thought occurred to me that, like, the blueprint for an open world Mario game is right there in Sunshine. I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe you could argue that Mario 64 is an open world Mario game, but not really. But you know what I mean? Like, you could say, like, oh, it's all connected because of the castle. But
I could see it more with Sunshine.
But yeah, Sunshine is there because it has this really cool feature where you can see the other worlds from different spots on the island. So, like, if you're at the top of the Ferris wheel, you can see Rico Harbor, and you can see Delfina Plaza, you can see Bianca Hills. You just can't go to them because they're background elements, and they're way too far off in the distance to actually get to. But if you shortened up the distance between stuff just a little bit, you've got an open world Mario game right there. Like, if they made it so that you could travel to all these places like it was all interconnected, just like you can kind of see that it is, you'd have what people are talking about.
I think
So
Sunshine would work too because you're on the island, so
yeah.
it would work as a manageable world map, not something that was ridiculous.
So I fully believe that on the next system we're going to have an open world Mario game. I think that Bowser's Fury was them testing to see how that would
Yeah.
work, and they were able to see, okay, we can do some cool kind of original mechanics with the big kaiju fights that you have and
Uh-huh.
stuff. Not saying they're going to do that exact thing again, but they're like, okay, there's room to put a gimmick in an open world game, and the gimmick in that case was the giant kaiju fights. But they could do something completely different. Who knows? So what have you been up to this week? Anything you want to talk about?
I mean, game wise, that could have been playing. Um,
I started
guess I
playing
just
Luigi's Mansion 2. Not Luigi's Mansion 2, the first Luigi's
the
Mansion.
original, yeah.
Yeah. Which that's another thing we can talk about is I can kind of see why that hasn't made its way to Switch yet. Now that I'm like really looking at it, is it's a really short game. You can finish it in like 5 hours. So
Yeah, okay.
probably they're probably like, well, we could only at most charge $40 if we did like a remake of this, and even that people would complain. So they would have to figure out some kind of extra content.
Yeah, maybe that's what they're doing with it. I don't know.
They got something planned because there's no way they haven't noticed that. Like, there's no way they don't know that everyone is saying, well, like, oh, I don't like that I can have the 3 and 2, but I don't have the first game available. They're going to have to make the first game available somehow, even if it's a $20
Yeah, yeah.
eShop. Like, they make zero changes and they just kind of like they did with the Pikmin games, even though those were the Wii versions, but
Yeah,
just
just release a straight port, basically.
exactly for $20 on the eShop, do it. But yeah, didn't sound like you had anything you wanted to talk about.
No, no, kind of slow week.
All right, let's get into this list because it's been on my mind all week. I'm kind of glad it was a slow news week, so nothing buried this because I think this dropped like right after we recorded last
It
time.
did.
So
So I
there
was
was a
like,
chance
oh
we
no.
wouldn't talk about it, but I'm glad it was a slow news week and we're able to talk about this. So BAFTA released the player poll results of the most iconic game characters of all time. So BAFTA are the company that runs the Game Awards, and they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. And this list is cuckoo bananas crazy. I'm telling you this. This is what happens when you have too small of a sample size.
Oh
Because
yeah.
what I understand is it was only 4,000 people that were polled, and keep in mind these are 4,000 people who pay attention to the BAFTA Game Awards so closely that they got this survey. So there's probably some age division happening here. There's probably some like I don't know. There's a certain type of person that's going to fill out this survey, and I don't know. Maybe we should read the list first, and then I can go into my tirade. But
Yeah, yeah, because like I said, it's not that none of the stuff on it are icons.
yeah.
It's just for a list of 20 and for what it is, it just doesn't make sense.
So BAFTA's baffling choices were number one. Well, I'll start at the bottom because that's
Yeah,
how you
start
do
at the
lists.
bottom because
Okay.
it's
Number 20, Nathan Drake, Uncharted. Number 19, Ellie Williams, The Last of Us. Number 18, Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza. Haven't played it. Don't know how to say that name. Sorry. Number 17, Austrian from Baldur's Gate 3. 16, Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy 7. Kind of surprised he's so low on the list.
mm,
Crash Bandicoot from Crash Bandicoot. Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Steve from Minecraft. Pikachu from Pokemon. Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3. Kratos, God of War, Master Chief from Halo, Link, The Legend of Zelda, Pac-Man from Pac-Man, Sackboy, Little Big Planet, Sonic the Hedgehog from the Sonic series, Agent 47, Hitman, Mario, Super Mario, and then number one on the list is Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. So
How is Sackboy in the top 5?
that's definitely one that stands out. Like, I don't know. I tried Little Big Planet back on the original one. Didn't connect with me. I'm not. I don't think I get that game. So I
Again,
understand it's a big franchise, but
yeah,
like Cloud Strife at number 16, Final Fantasy VII character.
you
Um,
get Sackboy over Pac-Man.
yeah, that is great. And Link from
Yeah,
Legend of
like
Zelda.
I'm not saying he's not an iconic character,
I
but
mean, I
number 5.
understand. I understand that we're a Nintendo focused podcast too, but this is. I'm just gonna rattle off the stuff that stood out to me. So I made a big note here about this list, which was okay. No Doom guy, no Tom Nook, no Ezio from Assassin's Creed, no Jill Valentine, Leon S. Kennedy, not a single Resident Evil character, as a matter of fact. No Samus, no
That
Rayman.
Samus jumped out so much to me. Like how?
There's not a single character from Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat on the list.
Mm-hmm.
No Mega Man? Are you kidding me? Like that, no Mega Man on this list shows me that there's an age division happening, because I understand how like gamers in their 20s probably don't connect with him as much as gamers our
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
but still, no Mega Man, no Spyro, Donkey Kong, Kirby, okay, maybe. Bowser definitely should be on there. Yoshi, Earthworm Jim, Duke Nukem, Wario, Battletoads, Banjo Kazooie, the L Block from Tetris. I don't know. Um, Bomberman deserves to be on this list. That's another thing that
You,
shows the age division.
see, Bomberman, you feel
I'm not
he's that
saying he's in the
iconic?
top 10, but I
No,
I
no,
I,
no. But
I would put him at like number 20 on the list.
okay, okay.
Just capping it off. Like, to me, Bomberman is the edge of it, but like especially in Japan, like that series is massive. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just the age division or what, but the weirdest thing to me is the ones that I said, that there aren't any. There's not a single Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat character on this list. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Ryu, or Chun-Li. It doesn't make any sense.
yeah. Mega
Actually,
Man again,
yeah,
huge,
there's
huge
no
omission.
fighting game characters on here.
Like, I don't know. I just don't know what's going on with this. I feel like if Banjo Kazooie had been managed a little better and they had a third or even a fourth game that was quality. I know there's nuts and bolts, but yeah, I feel like that would have made the list. Pikachu way too low on this list. That feels like it's almost out of spite. Like the type of people who
Yeah, I
fill
mean
out this
that's
survey
still
are like,
the
"Oh, those are
most
kids games. We play real."
successful like entertainment property. So yeah,
I
I
feel
mean
like that's the
there's
type of person who is getting this survey, though. You know what I mean? The type of person who's like, I play real video games, not that kid stuff. You know?
well, I
That's
mean
how
I
Agent 47 winds up at number 3. If it didn't say Hitman next to Agent 47, it would have taken me forever to realize what franchise he's even from.
like Lara Croft. I don't disagree with being on the list, but above
No, but the
Mario
thing
doesn't
about
make
Lara
sense.
Croft is like, people, there's no way she's number 1. People people don't even say her name correct. People don't even know her name. Most people say Laura Croft instead of Lara Croft. Like, they're not even saying her name correctly. She can't be that iconic. Over
And then
Mario? Like Mario's
Well,
at, it's like Mario's like the undisputed number one. So that's another one that feels like it's out of spite.
yeah, yeah, like I don't know, because there's Agent 47. I don't know if I'd say he's iconic. Sonic should be like number three.
I feel like a big part of when you're making a list of icons, not like favorites or like
Mm,
best, but icons, you need to ask yourself, does this random guy I work with who doesn't play video games know who
no, who
Agent
these people are.
47 is? No, he doesn't. He knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is. He knows who Mario is. He probably knows who Lara Croft is. Pac-Man, okay, passes the vibe check. Link from Legend of
Master
Zelda.
Chief, sure.
Yeah, Master Chief, they
Kratos,
probably know.
okay.
Pikachu, definitely. Um, Steve from Minecraft, you might not be able to name by name, but the average guy you work with probably knows Minecraft guy. You know, um,
But
Crash Crash
I'm
Bandicoot
sure
maybe, but
Baldur's Gate's a very good game, but how does they have two characters on here?
yeah, that's insane. When there's only 3 Nintendo characters total and one franchise has 2 characters on this list, you might as well do, like I said, Mario and Bowser or Yoshi. Mario could dominate this list just off of his world. You could have Mario, Bowser, Yoshi, Luigi, Toad, all all kind of belong on this list if we're
And then
being.
I feel like Snake should be top 10.
Yeah,
Like,
where is he?
I know
He's
Metal Gear
14. Yeah.
people know that character.
And
Kazuma, I don't disagree
Ellie
with, and
Williams is the one that I kind of waver on because I feel like, yeah, Last of Us is huge. It's
uh,
really big right now because of the show. I wonder how much lasting like appeal that's going to have. I wonder. Well, they keep re-releasing the games, so that's helping. But I really wonder, like 10 years from now, how big Last of Us is still going to be.
yeah, Arthur
Like, is it?
Morgan. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna pick a rock star person, you gotta do like somebody from GTA.
Yeah, there's
You
no
gotta,
GTA characters on this list at all.
but
I
even
feel like
like
these. Go ahead.
I know like you make your own character in Skyrim, but like there's really no RPG stuff outside Baldur's Gate and Final Fantasy on here. But I feel like that the Dragonborn or Vault Dweller, stuff.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff, especially Fallout's got the show now, so I don't know. It's just a weird list.
Well, I'm just going to go down here. Characters I feel like just don't belong on the list flat out. And Agent 47, I mean, I know it's number 3. It maybe because it's so high, maybe I'd object less if this was at like number
I
19.
think that's what it is
But
too, because it's like I could. It's like yeah, all right, he's iconic
I
for the
didn't even know
Super Bowl.
Hitman was that big a series anymore. Am I
Oh yeah,
missing something?
no, it because they've in the past like 5 years they've done like a new trilogy
Yeah,
of
but I
it.
didn't
So
think it was that popular. I thought it was just like, I mean, I know they're AAA games, but I honestly always thought of them as the B tier of AAA. I
I
didn't.
didn't think it would be popular enough that he'd be top 10.
Yeah, and he's
So
top 5. He's top 3. See,
yeah, my dog's very
everyone
upset about
knows.
it.
Even the dogs know. Like, come on. So I would say doesn't belong on the list. Period. Agent 47. There's so many from the list I listed that belong here before him. Um, Sackboy, even I'd take off the list completely, and he's another top 5. He's number 5. Um,
To me, that's a Little Big Planet again. I guess it's iconic, but I feel like I don't know that's there's not that many Little Big Planet games. Like there's more Hitman games than Little Big Planet games.
mhm.
So that's another where I'm like I don't know. I feel like Sony tried to make him a mascot, but not to the degree where I think you could put a picture of him in front of somebody and go, "Who is that?"
And the last one that people are definitely going to disagree with me on, but hear me out. I do not think anyone from Yakuza belongs on this list. It's the franchise isn't old enough, in my opinion, to be talking about iconic characters, and only people who play those games know those characters. So if you don't play Yakuza games, which I feel like people who play them think everybody plays them, but that's not the case. Uh, I don't think you know anything about those games if you don't play them.
So I'll temporarily channel Harrison. It's like I think Japan would disagree with you. So I I think Yakuza probably is iconic to that degree. Just I don't feel like maybe it is in the United States.
Even talking on the scale of Mario, like all of these other, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
I
where
don't see
where
it.
it is on the list, like it doesn't like I the one the stuff people I don't think Nathan Drake really belongs on the list. And
I would put Nathan Drake before anyone from Yakuza.
this is gonna sound weird, but I don't know if Crash Bandicoot deserves to be in the list because of it being 20. Maybe the top 50, but 20 seems high for Crash Bandicoot to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm more of a mascot character type of guy when I'm choosing these. I'd put him on there. I don't know. Maybe right. Comment down below. We're on YouTube now. What are your thoughts? What do you think should be on this list? What would your top 10 or top 20 be? Put them all in there, because honestly, like, talking about the ones that I think shouldn't be on here, I'll definitely say before anyone from Yakuza, Rayman I'd put on there, Donkey Kong for sure. Um,
I can agree with Donkey Kong. I don't know about Rayman. Let's see.
Yoshi is definitely, and I know
Yoshi
if we're
probably
talking,
should
we
be.
don't want to overflood, and we are a Nintendo podcast, and that's the thing where when you start these type of lists, you don't want there to be too much of one thing. But if we're being honest with ourselves, Yoshi, he's
Yeah.
almost like, especially in Japan that we keep talking about, he is a giant gaming character. People who don't know anything about video games will be like, "Oh, I love Yoshi." So he he's definitely a glaring omission from this list to me.
But if I could
Um,
only pick one unacceptable, no reason for him unless it's an age thing, Mega Man, absolutely.
yeah,
Like,
Mega Man. That's the next one. Absolutely. Like,
how do you not have Mega Man on there? Like,
mhm.
that's crazy to me.
And like I said, not a single Resident Evil character. I'm kind of surprised since Resident Evil 4 is in so
I
many
was
people's,
gonna
like, fresh
say,
in
like,
everyone's mind
I
right now.
figured Leon would have at least got on there, but nope.
Yeah, sad, 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 sad. And like you said, it's really weird that they put two Baldur's Gate characters on here.
And again, I'm sure it's a great game and everything. It's just I don't know who those characters were.
But even so, it's like, okay, so if you're going to allow multiple entries from the same franchise, Mario and Zelda are just going to dominate the list. So if you're going to open those gates, you better watch out what you're opening,
Yeah.
because, well, maybe not Zelda. Really, it's just like Link, Zelda, and Ganon. But definitely Mario characters. Definitely, like we said, Yoshi belongs on there. Princess Peach belongs on there. Toad, Luigi for sure belongs on there. If you're gonna do both, number one and number two are Mario and Luigi. Like that's my list. Number one Mario, number two Luigi. So I don't know. It's a weird list, and I honestly feel like they make these lists bad on purpose, just so people talk about the list and go, and it's clickbait. It's professional quality clickbait. All right, on to some rumors. Comment down below. Comment all the glaring omissions below. Yell at me for saying Yakuza doesn't belong on this list, because I still believe it in my heart of hearts. If we're going to be making a real list, no way. Switch 2. We need some more rumors on that. It's been a minute since we've talked about it. Did the name of the Switch 2 system leak? So, there was a YouTube survey that listed the Switch Attach under a question about what next gen systems you plan on buying. So could two screens attaching together, as we've seen Nintendo already file prototypes for, be the Switch Attach? Could that be the name? So if you listen to our episode about things we want from the Switch 2, I already talked about the ability to recreate that Wii U, Nintendo DS dual screen experience. It's a big want that I have for this next system. So when I was talking about it, I mentioned maybe you could stream from the stream from handheld mode to the dock and
Oh yeah,
use
yeah, yeah, yeah.
use your Switch as the second screen. But they've also, if you remember, filed that patent for that thing that it kind of looked like a DS if you folded the DS the wrong way and both of the screens faced outward instead of inward. Um, so that's something to think about here. I honestly hope this isn't the name for the new system though, because it
Yeah, me too.
sounds like a Wii U
Yep.
situation. You call something the Switch Attach, people are just going to think it's an accessory for the Switch. They're not going to think it's a new system.
We gotta get a Switch attached. You have one.
Yeah, exactly. That's every parent talking to their kids. Can I get a Switch Attach? You already have a Switch. What do you need to attach to it? You know?
Right.
So,
You get the OLED, you get the light, you get the original. What does this attach?
yeah. I'm going to rate the likelihood on this as not very, because I don't think they are this foolish. I think the likelihood of two screens on the next system is very plausible, but not naming the system Switch Attach.
No,
Um,
I think the two screen thing makes sense because maybe like I think it's just gonna be like a pseudo redesign on the original model at this point.
yeah,
But
and to refresh everyone's memory, so this was like a couple of months ago now. It leaked a patent they filed for. It looked like a DS that folded the wrong way, with both screens facing out. And something else that was in the patent is the top screen was detachable. So you would be able to detach this screen and maybe stream to it and play in handheld mode, or give it
oh
to a
yeah, yeah.
second player to play games on that screen. It's a really cool idea if it ends up happening. Um,
I like your Switch 2 name. That's good.
oh yeah, I said, what would you name so
Don't
comment
confuse
down
people
below. I'm
too.
just going to keep saying that now that we're on YouTube. Comment down below. What would you name the Switch 2? The Switcheroo. That's what I'm going to name it. Call it the Switcheroo. Uh
Oh
anyway,
man.
yeah. I know if it has two screens too, you got to think about this. Day 1, people are going to be demanding DS comes to Switch Online.
Yeah,
You're going to be like, "Oh, you
absolutely.
got the two screens, Nintendo Switch Online. Give us our DS games." So, look forward to that, Nintendo. And believe it or not, that was everything I wanted to talk about this week as far as news goes before we get to the spotlight. Did you turn up anything?
No, it was it was a pretty slow week. But yeah, I is there still anything about them thinking summer is gonna be like the hey, this is what it is? Or has
No
there
new
been
rumors about
no
that. The
nothing new on
last
that?
rumor we heard was that in June they were going to reveal the next system. So
Okay. But
now we're in
nothing.
April. Got
Alright.
2 months to go before we find out if that was nonsense or not. But yeah,
No,
the
I'm ready for the spotlight because this was one I was waiting to show up.
all right, so let's hop on in. The spotlight game this week is Jet Force Gemini for the Nintendo 64-bit console. Came out in December of 1999 in Japan and October of 99 in North America. Remember those rare games we get in America
Yeah,
first a lot of
we
the
get them
times.
first. Yeah. When
I
this
remember.
released, 'cause I
Oh, go
can't
ahead.
remember. Did this come with anything like a Rumble Pack type thing, or
Not that
was
I
this
know of.
okay? Because I
I
couldn't
don't
remember
think
if
so.
this was one of those games that they tried to use to sell an accessory with.
Um, I know it was compatible with the Rumble Pack, but It was not like an expansion pack game or anything like that.
Okay.
You remember Nintendo 64, one of the cool things it did, this is how many extra add-on peripherals they had for the 64. They had like a coding on the side of the box for like if the game used the Rumble Pack, it would put a little Rumble Pack logo. If it was
Oh yeah, yeah.
multiplayer, it would have four little controllers to show you it was multiplayer. If it used the expansion pack, it would have a little expansion pack logo. If it used the Game Boy Transfer Pack, it had a little logo for that. It was this. I kind of like it, but also kind of laugh at how different a time it was that there were that many accessories for the Nintendo 64. Each game had to have like its little side of the
Yeah,
package
but
code.
it was a really good system. Like because again, parents who didn't game, like you'd be like, oh, what's it's gonna have this little symbol on it, meaning it's got a Rumble Pack compatibility or whatever, or
Yeah.
Star Fox. It says right on the box, comes with Rumble Pack, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like the only.
Ocarina of Time should have come with the Rumble Pack, to be honest, because the Stone of Agony is like such
Yeah,
a great part of that game. But we're not talking
I
about
think
Ocarina of Time.
N64 did a really good job of selling peripherals without being obnoxious about it.
Yeah, because they all kind of had a decent function. It wasn't like when they were just a few years away from when they'd get out of hand with things like the Game Boy Advance e-reader, where nobody's cards worked. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, or here's the Wii Remote Plus, but it only works with these games, and you have to, yeah. No, I think that's probably the best era of peripherals, I guess, overall. But
I remember Nintendo Power pushing Jet Force Gemini hard. Like they followed the whole because Rare had already hit with a few games at this point. I mean, I think people were already drawing comparisons to GoldenEye because it was another shooting game coming out from Rare, even though they're clearly
I
different
would
types
say
of
they're,
game.
they're they're pretty different games. But yeah, I could see
Yeah, put
at the
yourself in the
time.
headspace of pre Jet Force Gemini. You'd be like, oh, cool. Well, they're making another game where you shoot things. It's going to be just as awesome. I can't wait to try the multiplayer. And yeah, I remember them pushing this game hard. They they had like the previews of the game back when the character models were like children, which I mentioned last week. I think I mentioned this on the podcast. They aged up the character models at a certain point because they didn't like having a game where kids are shooting things.
Yeah,
Um, I remember this was another game too where they praised the AI, like saying like the enemy artificial intelligence was like Turok 2, now that I think of it, was another game they did that for, which is funny because in both games they just seem to have enemies that stand and shoot. And like sometimes they'll run behind an object to avoid being shot. But I guess back then an enemy knowing to take cover behind an object was considered like, whoa, the enemy AI is crazy, you know?
which is funny when you look back on it because it's like that was enough of an effort on the developer's part for people to be like, whoa, all right then. Like they really put the effort in. Like this guy walked behind this box.
Yeah,
Like
because I
the
remember
Doom
reading that
demons
type
would
of
just
stuff
be
and being
in.
like, I remember reading that the enemy AI is great in this game and thinking that was going to mean like, oh, I'm going to get like ambushed, and there's going to be like, it's going to be like fighting a supercomputer, but it wasn't. And yeah, I feel like the pressure was on for them to release something great after the Golden Eye shooter there, and this game might be why they decided to go back to that well for Perfect Dark. Even though this game did sell well, it feels like Rare wasn't happy with it. And I've actually seen interviews and in that documentary they did where they talked about being unhappy with the finished product, even though, like I said, it sold really well. But I feel
Right.
like that's probably why they went back to something similar for Perfect Dark. There was a Game Boy Color version that was started but ultimately canceled. and apparently it was like mostly completed too, and it would have been a shooter from like an isometric perspective, kind of like that Tony Hawk game on Game Boy Advance.
Oh
Like it
yeah,
would,
that would have worked.
yeah. And they had like they were clearly gearing up for this to be a franchise because they had the Game Boy game and they also had a web comic tie-in that never came out, which is like I feel like I knew somehow about a lot of this stuff because that's why at the time I was like, this is going to be my thing. I have said multiple times on this
Oh
podcast
yeah,
how
yeah.
like there were a few times in my life where I picked something that was going to be my thing, and then that thing just never went anywhere. Winback was another example. Winback was going to be my thing. I'm like, I'm going to follow this franchise. I'm going to be the guy who knows everything about Winback, and then it's just the one game. Same thing here. And I remember thinking, oh, like, this is going to be my Star Wars. And I think the reason is like, even back then there was so much expanded universe that you're like it's too much to catch up on Star Wars. But if I can connect with something from the beginning, then that can be
Yeah.
my thing. And I would have loved this web comic if it had come out. I bet they talked about it in Nintendo Power. Like I bet I knew that there were plans for this to be a bigger franchise, and that's why I was so hyped for it.
I mean,
I
I'm
mean, this,
always surprised it only was ever one game.
yeah, I mean, it's weird whenever you hear that a game was like almost finished and never released, like this Game Boy game apparently was, and I think you can even find like clips of it. Like I'm sure the ROM has leaked or something. You can
Oh yeah, I'm
see
sure.
online this Game Boy game. I haven't actually looked at it, but apparently it is out there. Jet
But
Force
in just in
Gemini's. Oh,
general, yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like N64 especially. There's a lot of them where I was just surprised it was only one game.
so what their goal was with this was they took elements from different games. It had Mario 64's world type of environments, type of free roaming. Um, what do you call it? Objective. Free roaming little worlds with objectives.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Quake style attack and cover mechanics and Super Metroid's backtracking. So you would upgrade your weapons and you would backtrack to the different worlds to unlock different areas. And I honestly think that was my favorite part of this game. It's weird looking back in retrospect that you need to collect all of the tribals to unlock the end boss. That's a little crazy, but oh, for sure, because of all the backtracking that's involved. And there's also like I remember at the time, a lot of people wondered why the abandoned space station had like a door that went nowhere. And I remember trying to get like a Game Shark code to see if I could get through this door or anything. And apparently, what that was um, one of the first levels that the development team had designed was planned to branch off from that into like a more elaborate section, but they ran out of time. As cliche as that sounds, they just ran out of time, and it never wound up in the game. And it's not even in the game's files, so you can't find it on like the boundary break web videos or anything. But yeah, that door did have a plan. We all felt it's this game's version of the island that that's like the island that's near the dam in Goldeneye. It's this it's this game's version of that. It's just like, oh, just it was going to be there, but then it wasn't. And also, how did Alien Ant Farm not have any music in this game? It's literally a game with alien ants, and there's no Alien Ant Farm music. Are you kidding me? They resemble the Alien Ant Farm logo too. So it's weird that the two are not connected. Like if you showed this to somebody who didn't grow up in the 90s, like you showed them an Alien Ant Farm album cover, and then you showed them this game, they'd be like, surely these two things are connected, but they're not.
yeah. Because that's something that I enjoy about it is that you're just fighting bugs. It was a little Starship Troopers, but like cute. And
Collect their heads to unlock
I com-
rainbow blood and other types of
I
cheats.
completely forgot like the fact they just basically explode.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is a pretty like. I mean, it's not like a Turok game, but it was just funny to me because I just forgot about it.
I definitely collected the 300 heads to unlock Mr. Pants back in the day, by the way. That's how much I
I'm
played this
sure
game.
you did.
I can't
See, that's
believe that looking back, though. That's the type of thing looking back where I'm like, you know, it's so weird to think back of, how you played games in the 90s and early
oh yeah,
2000s because I'm like, I would never put that much time into this game today.
yeah. I mean, it's. I remember us playing it, but I don't remember us playing it as much as other stuff.
Yeah, I think I forced us to play the multiplayer a few times. I remember enjoying it, but obviously when we were all getting together to do multiplayer, we were going to play Smash or we were going to play GoldenEye. Maybe a Mario Party or a Mario Tennis would sneak in there. It was kind of hard. This and Winback, which I talked about earlier. I remember a few times getting us to play the Winback multiplayer, but and you know what? I'll throw it on the pile too. Turok 2. We played Turok 2 very sporadically. These were the games you played when you were a little bit tired of playing GoldenEye. You're like, all right, we played 10 GoldenEye rounds tonight. Do you want to maybe do something different? And then you reach for the closest one that has a multiplayer mode.
I think, yeah, like the Conquer multiplayer, we played a lot more, but I think it's because that had different modes.
Yeah, that wasn't just like, kill each other multiplayer. That was like I remember one of them was like a capture the flag. One of them was like
Yeah.
one of them I remember one player would be up on top of the hill with like all the guns. You would be the teddy bear, I think, up on the top of the hill with all
Oh
the
yeah,
guns,
yeah, and we
and
had
the
to
other player would
storm it.
have to infiltrate the base.
Yeah,
That's all I remember about that. But I know we did that one a few times.
but I know that was part of why we didn't play this as much.
I don't
I
think
don't
this had
remember us
good
ever
maps,
trying.
to tell you the truth. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the bones were there for there to make a good multiplayer game here, but I think if I remember correctly, the maps were just like a bunch of like collapsed buildings that you went in and out of, and there wasn't really any. I don't know. The multiplayer really relies on having good maps, and I don't think this had any. None of them stand out to me anyway.
and I don't remember us ever trying the co-op because I know the co-op was very like simple.
No, I was that one of those ones where like one person aims and the other person runs. And
Yeah, like the second person get to be like
oh, there was the
a
ship, the little
robot.
little robot thing. Yeah, okay, I remember
Yeah,
that now. Yeah, there's like a little
but
robot helper that shoots things. Okay.
that was kind of, I don't know. We didn't get too much into that, but yeah, I still haven't beaten it, but I've enjoyed my time with it. It's just it's I think the widescreen thing to it is interesting, and it's probably the only game we've done at least where it's funny to play through it and the game the levels almost feel like dioramas. Like they don't even feel like game levels. So it just kind of gives us this weird charm.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is something I don't know. There's a limitation to the graphics that you feel in this game more than you feel on some rare Nintendo 64 games. A lot of
But
boxes, a lot of crates, a lot of square shapes.
yeah, and I mean there's certain I feel like your character runs like both his feet are broken. So
I kind of
just
agree.
watching
Yeah.
the run animation went, huh,
No,
I
you
don't
know
think
what?
he's supposed to run like
It's
that.
kind of the same thing in Shadows of the Empire. The jump controls are super awkward in that game, and like it's the same thing here. There's just like some kind of floppiness to the way you run that you're totally right. Like it's almost like it's like you have like kind of too much inertia when you're going in
Yeah.
when you try to change direction, you keep moving in that original direction a little too much.
And then I'm trying to think what else with it. Oh, I get why it doesn't have it, but I wish it had Z targeting because I had such a hard time with the manual targeting. Just because like
And
you can't be precise with it, I guess. So it's like you gotta kind of like, all right, well he's up there, so if I get the box, I just gotta keep shooting, and eventually I'll hit
and
the
that's
guy.
something I think that is modern, like looking at this with like modern gaming eyes
Yeah,
type of thing. I don't think
yeah,
that stood out at the time because I think a
no.
lot of shooting games had those awkward shooting controls, but yeah, it definitely stands out today for sure.
But I don't think it. Like I said, it's a fun game, and I'm still just kind of surprised it never got a part two. You know, that's another one where I could have saw a GameCube sequel happen, and it probably wouldn't have sold great, and that would have been the end of it. But I
I'm
don't know
willing to bet if the whole Microsoft deal didn't happen, we would have. There's two
if they were
games.
still with Nintendo.
Yeah, there's two games I'm almost sure we would if Nintendo, because Rare, if anyone out there doesn't know, in like 2001, 2002 ish, Rare wanted to sell the company and they tried to sell themselves to Nintendo. Nintendo didn't want to buy, and then Microsoft ended up buying them. But there's a lot of speculation out there of like what would have happened had Nintendo bought Rare. I honestly think we would have gotten another Jet Force Gemini game at some point that would have tried to recapture and maybe course correct some of the problems with it. And we definitely would have gotten the third Banjo Kazooie game and not Nuts and Bolts. We would have gotten Banjo 3E, which they hint at in the game.
I think we would have got a Blast Corp sequel too. Honestly,
Yeah, that would have been really cool on GameCube.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like they could have added more to it. So that's another one I'm waiting for it to come up because if nothing else, Rare has pretty much gold on N64.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, ranking wise, I put Jet Force Gemini at number 21. So that's under Ocarina, above Shinobi Ninja 3. But it's really good. I mean, even with the little weird stuff about it, I feel like it holds up.
So I've got it kind of in a weird slot here. I've got it at number 14 on my list, and that puts it right under the original Super Mario Brothers for the NES.
Okay.
Uh, it's kind of hard to compare that game to anything, but I definitely think the original Super Mario Brothers is something I'll play more times in my life than I'll play this. So yeah, I put it below that, and it's right above it. It knocked down on the list Shinobi Ninja 3. So this is a better game in my opinion than Shinobi Ninja 3. Yeah, it's because it doesn't have as much filler. Like especially the NES category is a lot of filler. Speaking of filler, let's see what we're playing next time. Crank up the old randomizer here with a crank. Okay, we are playing. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Our new rule where we play the similar games. We're going to be doing two games next week. We drew versus Excite Bike on the NES. So we might as well do Excite Bike. Yeah, yeah. So we'll do Excite Bike and versus Excite Bike. Is Excite Bike 64 on the series? Let's do all three. Why not? Let's do the Excite Bike trilogy. Because honestly, the reason I think that's a good idea is I don't think I have a whole lot to say about Excite Bike 64. So it's not a game. Yeah, like Excite Bike 64 is a very bland game. So we can do all three for next week and we'll have enough to talk about with the three of them. All right, so leave your comments down below. I can finally say that more now that we're on YouTube. Leave your comments down below on what you think the most iconic video game characters of all time are. Leave your comments about what you think about Excite Bike, Jet Force Gemini, the Switch Attach, which honestly, saying it out loud now, I feel like Switch Attack is going to be something that people say by mistake. So yeah, this is definitely not going to be the name of the system. So Switch, what would you name the next system? Would you name it the Switcheroo? Comment down below and remember and also remember, be kind. We are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So if we got anything wrong, let us know in a kind way, not a you guys are morons way, in the comments section, and we will address it. So far, we're like the only podcast, I guess, who's never gotten anything wrong because we say this every episode, and nobody ever sends us a message saying you guys got this wrong. So yeah, we'll address it if we got anything wrong. Let us know. And until next week, we will be playing more Nintendos. Well, I really need to figure out a sign off. You said I had a good sign on. we, we, woo! Hit the gas.